Russia, India, China trilateral, even in the past, was a mechanism where these three countries came together and often uh, ended up with more rhetoric than anything substantive.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you go back and if you see what it achieved, there's not much to really talk about. I mean, one can at the most extrapolate and say that RIC there became the fulcrum for eventual emergence of BRICS.
BRICS, yeah.
But that is also difficult to say because this was some BRICS eventually emerged out of some investment bankers imagination of how the world might look like. But RIC will always remain an interesting exercise in pushing back against certain unilateralist tendencies in American foreign policy. In the 1990s, when Primakov was talking about it, and he started this whole process, he looked at it and he said, look, America is becoming too unilateral when it comes to the issue of sovereignty. At that point in time, you had the liberal internationalism. Let's go here, let's go there, let's change the governments, and let's bring democracy, etc. So that way, and because Russia, China, and India have been called sovereignty hawks, that they value this idea of sovereignty very much. Of course, after Ukraine invasion, you might question that how well.
Yeah.
But I think that element was always there. Today, as you point out, it's a very different world, and on the one hand, you have this problem of all three of them trying to, as we were discussing, having their own channel with Washington. On the other, you have a situation where India would define itself as non-Western, not anti-Western. Whereas Russia and China have taken openly anti-Western foreign policy frameworks. Now, they are opposing everything that the West does. India has a slightly different approach to many of these questions, right? We were talking about India-EU, FTA. Now, this is a Western, so we want to engage the West. If at all, what we would say, we want to be a bridge, not something to take sides, right? So, if India did not take side during Russia and Ukraine war, I don't anticipate India taking sides between RIC and the West. I mean, so what I think eventually we will do when with RIC also, we would like to project certain principles on the global stage. That look, sovereignty is important. Like balanced trade is important, that you have to global economic order and global economic governance is important. Pushback against tariffs might be on the agenda of RIC. So I think those kinds of issues certainly India can bring to the table. But I don't think India is going to position itself as a country that takes overtly anti-Western approach to global economy and global polity. The other issue, of course, is very important, which is Russia-China coming together. And I think that is somewhat... I would say one of the most important challenge for Indian foreign policy potentially can be how close Russia and China may end up getting.
They already are.
What India has tried to do is, therefore, to keep a channel of communication open with Russia. And this India has always been trying to explain to the West that the more you try to isolate Russia, the more Russia ends up in Chinese arms. And therefore, you don't want that. And I think, therefore, in some ways, many in India were hopeful that Trump's opening to Russia would create new avenues for India. They didn't realize that Trump would close down to India. That that element was unexpected.